All right. Hello, welcome everyone who's watching us tonight. Just give it a little time to see you guys coming in. Yeah, Victor.
Okay, I'm trying to do that. Yeah.
All right. Hello, welcome everyone who's watching us tonight. Just give it a little time. Okay, so we'll just give it a few minutes for joining us, and welcome guys. If you have any questions throughout the whole life, please give us what you have. We're gonna just talk about the markets, talk about the latest developments in Polaris Universal, and we're gonna receive your questions if you have any. Okay. Victor, is there a problem with your camera? Okay. So welcome everyone to this Eureka Crypto Hour. Usually we talk about crypto, we talk about Forex, we talk about what's happening in both these spaces. With me, of course, Victor, our MVP, our Forex and precious metals.
Hey guys.
So yeah, a lot have been happening on the background. Recently, it's been just non-stop development from our side as the company. In terms of trading, not too much from my side in crypto, maybe a little bit from Victor's side. He's been doing great on that front. From the crypto side, we can see that the market is a bit getting into a very unique situation where probably we never saw like things like this in crypto before because of the macro situation where we can see this kind of debate between bulls and bears. There are many reasons for Bitcoin to go way up from here, and there are also many good arguments for the other side. And this kind of uncertainty is letting us just slide in the same level with decreasing volume. Of course, this is going to be resolved, and when it gets resolved, opportunities just pop up, and instead of trying to risk too much for too little reward in those kind of situations, you would rather be much better getting into the movement, because behind every potential profit there is a potential risk, and you need to always keep that in mind. So in terms of what's going on in the company right now, we are the development company that's working with the Impulse X, as many of you know, and we're very excited for that one, mostly because me and Victor are going to be working with them on the trading side, on the signals, the classes, and the mentoring, and also the bot that we're really excited about that one. It basically follows a list of strategies that we've been testing for the last 4 years, and it's just a list of criteria that the bot follows, and we know like the kind of profitability that these strategies had before. We can expect really some nice returns on that one, and basically we're opening it up, people can plug into it and just let their money work for them as what's supposed to happen with every kind of liquidities once had. It's the best way to keep increasing your net worth, is basically trying to beat the market. And as traders, this is our job. We try to beat the market, and that's so we can capitalize on the wins and just be safe when things are not that good. And recently, right now, what's going on, it's really the worst possible market environment. And later on, when I just share my charts, you're gonna see with me that it's pretty much a very unique situation right now. Hello everyone who's joining us here. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the Impulse X bots. That's I'm receiving some questions about them, of course, and of course, as soon as the bot is there and you guys are gonna use it directly, you can see the performance and all that. But we expect the performance to fluctuate between 100, 150, probably 180% per year, which is basically the profitability of these strategies over the last years, or last 4 to 5 years. So it's if we assume that, of course, and we have no reason not to assume that, because those kind of criteria would have a high level of probability. If that stays the case, so that would be the potential profitability of the bot. It's basically just, as I said earlier, a list of criteria that what we follow, and they're based on our on a few strategies that we've been using. So yeah, later on, if you guys have some questions about this, also in Impulse X we have a unique affiliate program. So of course, as I mean, we are a development company with Impulse X, and we want it to succeed because we are partnered up with Impulse X in multiple fronts. And yeah, what I was saying is that if we also have in Impulse X, there is an affiliate plan that's pretty unique, and it would allow a lot of users of the bot to basically have an additional revenue because of the potential sales that can be made on their downline. I'm gonna just skim over it now, and if you guys have any questions, any specific questions about it, we're here. Maybe in the meantime, I'm gonna share my screen and talk a little bit about market. So right now, this is the Bitcoin chart. When we had the last live, I talked about this big consolidation on the weekly chart. Of course, this might need a lot more time to resolve, but we know that this situation generally is not going to resolve in these areas. This is the places where one of them is going to win the debate, basically between Impulse and Bear. We can see the decreasing volume on this side. Most importantly here is that the levels that we would be watching on the short term would be this last daily lower high, which Bitcoin just set 2 days ago, around 9,300 and 8,800 on the downside. These are the two levels basically that after breaking them, we would start talking again about maybe initiating positions or trying to find something, because as long as we're around here, nothing is happening. We've been around here for the last 9 to 10 days, but even before that, the situation wasn't really that good. But of course, right now, at least with consolidation getting tighter and tighter, we can actually get those levels where things might start, when momentum might start shifting. Our biggest indicator for this would be the volume, because moves without volume are basically just it means that not too much money actually goes that move, and if more capital gets in and looking at the other direction, it can easily turn it into a fake out. And this is what's been happening all over the place here. We have those long big wicks that are caused by basically very little volume making moves, and then a little bit bigger volume canceling that move and pushing to the other side. This has been the case for the last 2 months. And I'm going to talk about ERK here, because I'm also receiving, of course, a lot about it. We have a lot of holders who want to see the price appreciate. We are also holders. We hold ERK, we're buying it, and we want to see it go high. And the strategy that Polish Universal is using is basically a big chunk of our net profits. 80% of the net profits is going to be constantly used to buy back and burn ERK. Recently, in the last 2 months, as the market can suggest, it's been difficult to create those profits. It's been dangerous to create those profits, and there is no reason to risk capital, as I said earlier, in very bad risk-reward setups. So the lack of net profit, we basically have barely enough profits to cover the running costs of everything, basically, because when our fund was getting bigger, of course, we needed to diversify the portfolio. We couldn't just stay exposed to one single market. Of course, the profitability changes as with the situation. So we did what's natural for any kind of portfolio. You would diversify, you would create other businesses, other ways to create and generate profits. And we created a whole bunch of very strong businesses, both online and offline. Um, we basically, I mean, we talked about this multiple times, but I mean, we have those businesses. I'm not gonna go one by one. We also have shares in many others, and we also have our own development company, blockchain development, and just programming in general. And all these stream of incomes combined are creating are what constitute the net profits of the company. Right now, with the current economic recession, things are getting very difficult. For example, like our business of import export would just basically it's on a hold. Our businesses, other businesses online are being very difficult to increase that network and make it more profitable. And basically they're just covering their overhead. So that would make sense in the current situation. Business is not really in its best situation, but we're very excited for what's coming next. This is just a passing situation, and that's forced us, of course, to follow certain ways in order to make sure we're gonna just keep keep growing. And we believe that ERK is going to be a big success, because if you take into account 80% of the net profits of all these, I mean, it's going to be really effective. So right now there isn't too much because there is net profit. The market is not giving us those net profits, and the other businesses are not giving us those net profits yet, barely. So you know, it's as usual, any other business, I mean, you would give it 6 to 8 to 9. Usual trading is kind of more active, so your risk is much more close, and your reward is also much closer in terms of the time window that you need to wait. But at the same time, we can't. At some point, the market becomes untradeable, and this big consolidation is gonna at some point resolve. We see that there was a lot of correlation between crypto and Bitcoin and the stock market, but just 2 days ago, something noticeable. We can see that there was a little change. So this is the Bitcoin chart. Let's look at it from maybe the hourly chart. So we can see here that 2 days ago, yeah, 2 days ago, there was the numbers of the unemployment rates in the US, and there was a pump in the stock market because the number decreased. Of course, they're still very horrible because on average, the unemployment rate in the US was always around 5% between 1940 and just 2020. And just in April or in May, it became 13%, and now it's 11%. It's very high compared to the average, but that feeling of having a big number and then decreasing it brought some hope into the stock market. So there was a pump in the stock market. Bitcoin followed here, but there was no continuation. Breaking this area was going to give us a change in the 4-hour trend, which was very important. Usually, it's very important. It gives us that shifting momentum, or increases the odds significantly for shifting momentum. And then we started fading away, and then we had a dump. And that's the thing. Like, of course, there was no like big news or something that would create this volume here, as you can see here, of selling, except like the logical conclusion that there wasn't just enough volume here. So there were some buyers, but the whole volume in the crypto space, if you go back here to the daily chart, you can see that the volume is not that impressive, and it's getting lower and lower here, getting extremely low. And that means that just one seller somewhere who had a big amount was able actually to change this completely. So we had this dump, and now we're kind of consolidation on the lower end of this dump. So the odds are much more in favor of another leg down. But these leg downs and legs up are happening in a very tight level. And if you want to enter the trade in these places, you need a very small size and a very far stop loss. You wouldn't play this one. Like, for example, this one is going to come back. You would say, okay, this is a good trade where the setup would be, this is the stop from here and the target would be around here. But it can easily have those long wicks here, that a lot of them, because of this lack of volume. So we're not really building those levels of support resistance in the short term. We can't build them. We can't rely on them because they're built on very low volumes. It's like building a house on a or not very low budget, so it's gonna crash at any moment. And so you can put your stop loss here. It's gonna be hunted. It's gonna be touched again and again. And of course, the bigger the volume, the more these chances are possible. The volume of trade, your volume of trading as a trader. So that means that the risk is very big here to have a streak of losses, just because you're not patient enough to wait for much better setups. So with, of course, high volume, because volume is what's most important. But historically, across all markets, whenever we have a decrease in volume that's happening for a lot of time, the resolution is explosive, and we want to be there for that explosion. Things are going to come back to normal. Historically, in Bitcoin, we basically never had this specific one. This is very unique. I mean, if we go back to what was happening before, like we had a certain area here of consolidation that's similar to this one, but it didn't take too long. It took from late November to basically late December, so 1 month. We also had one here, this one, but I mean, they don't happen too often, and when they do, they don't take this long. So this one taking this long, taking we probably 8 to 9 weeks so far, or 10 weeks. That's very unique, but again, it makes perfect sense because Bitcoin is going through a unique situation where for the first time it's being traded within a recession. So just coming back to my point quickly, I'm gonna get to Victor later on. Maybe I don't wanna keep drifting away, but here we had this dump, while in the S&P we didn't have the dump. We actually had the continuation, and the dump just happened recently now. So we had a break of correlation basically between these two here, which made sense. I don't think it's very noteworthy for the simple reason that the volume here is not the same as the volume in Bitcoin. Because of the lack of volume, we can have these kind of moves that are caused by just a surge of volume to a certain direction at a certain point, while in the stock market, you wouldn't be able to basically move the market and push the market with a high order. You need a lot more money in order to do so. So just I'll come back. And you guys, if you have any questions, if you want us to go through some markets specifically, or you have questions about us, about the market, about Polaris, Impulse X, we're here. I'm just gonna go about some other coins, and then I move to Victor so that he can go through Forex and precious metals. Okay, so here we have, because Bitcoin is consolidation a lot, we have some movers here and there, and Cardano, for example, it's been one of the best performance in the space. We can see that it had a pretty strong weekly run, and now we're getting into this resistance. And the most important level to follow here is the 693 around here, which will basically tell us that the weekly chart is losing momentum, and then probably we're going to have our top on the monthly chart. As you can see, we didn't have any monthly consolidation ever since the bottom, so you want to take advantage of these if you want, but you need to be very careful. You don't want to get stuck once there are some red flags. So you just need to have that list of red flags that for you, you're going to be out of this market. For me, it would be the as I said earlier, the 693 level, which is the last weekly higher low. If you're a bit more, if you're a bit conservative, you don't want to leave too much on the table, you can of course use one of these levels. But I mean, it turns this there is a confluence of levels here, and you can see that the between the 693 and the 774, so around these areas, we can see that there is a lot of support, and that's kind of the level where you should be watching in case turn around. This is strong momentum, and probably we can have a higher leg up. Of course, we get into a very important resistance, but the momentum is there, so it's very possible. And if Bitcoin stays in the same range, we can see a lot of altcoins moving up, so we're gonna keep an eye on those. BAT is also one of the best performers so far. It had this basically the chart is still bullish, higher highs and higher lows. For Link also, it's one of the best performing. Link is almost in all-time highs, so That's very interesting. It's really good to see all-time high again in this space. Some neutral ones like Binance is pretty neutral. You can see the difference in the chart. We just created our lower high, and we might be rolling lower. And of course, this one is much weaker. XRP. It's really bad for those who are holding it. It's not really doing that great, and it looks like it's targeting lower lows. So generally, the Bitcoin dominance is very important to keep an eye on, and right now it's looks like it's getting prepared for going lower. This level I've been watching for a while, and I was looking at it as the level that it's gonna break. We're gonna probably see the start of an alt season, but I was expecting Bitcoin to be another level. The fact that Bitcoin is consolidation on the lower range of this big consolidation means that there are gonna be a lot more fears of a leg to the downside, which usually altcoin follow in a bigger way. So if Bitcoin goes down 5%, they will probably go 8-9%. So we might not see that alt season, but if Bitcoin manages to give that confidence that it's gonna stay in this range for a little while longer, maybe 1 or 2 more weeks, or of course if it shows some signs of strength and possibility to go higher, probably we're going to see festival in the altcoin space, and we're going to be there to take full advantage of it. And also the bot in Pulsex is going to be there because the instruction that we're given is actually made for this kind of situations as well. So for those who are going to be using the bot, you will take full advantage of any alt season whenever it triggers. But again, as traders, we always want to wait for the trades to come to us. We're being patient. We need to be patient as hard as it gets, because as a trader, sometimes you feel like you want to enter, you want to be there, but not taking a position is one of the best things you can do in many situations, and definitely this current situation. I'm gonna move maybe to Victor. I'm sorry, maybe I didn't. I was just drifting away. Back to you, Victor. Just take it from here. I'll check some messages. I need to stop.
You need to stop sharing screen. Hey guys. All right, so I'm just going to take you guys through the trade we took last week, and Nabil has said it all. The impulsive trading system will be it's something that we're working background to test and retest everything before it goes live finally. And definitely with the percentages Nabil talked about, the 100 to 150% a year is realistic with our performance so far within the years. And I'm going to just show you guys the few trades we took. We are just being very careful right now, not going in very large. Any trade you see us take is just a little by little lot size. We're not really hitting it hard like we used to due to the current world situation, right? And you can see when the news release came out yesterday for NFP, which was very huge. That was the biggest news on the Forex side. You can see the movement in the market, even though the dollar gained a little bit, but the movement wasn't more. The dollar still suffered because of the corona issue that's happening in the US currently, right? So the trades we took last year, I think it was just 2 trades with from Monday to Friday. So I'm going to share my screen right now to just show you that, and I'll be back to Nabil immediately. So okay. So
we have a little question here. Maybe you answer it, then you go through your thing, and then I'm gonna come back to it too. So somebody's saying, with what amount of funds do you operate, and what are the biggest monthly losses? So basically the percentage of the fund that you use in your trades and stuff like that. So if you can just give him a reply.
I'll let you answer that, Nabil. I'll let you answer that. Let me just quickly hit through this. Okay, so yeah, we took a trade with a good, I think on Tuesday, yeah. So we took a trade with it for it to go lower, and we entered around this area here, which was this point where it peaked here. So we took that position, and later on, you can see that it couldn't hold. The bulls fought back immediately, and we got out around this point with our trailing stop. If you're in the signal channel, you can see that we called out that signal. which is here. Look at it, gold short at 1780.85. So if you actually go to the chart, you locate 180.85 is around this area here. So we're in that trade to those points. We got taken out by the trailing stop, and I also announced it in the signal channel like that. So we're going to have a similar thing like this in the impulsive trading system, where you can actually see the actual trades that are going in and out, and also if you available on your system, you can actually take them too. Then USD CHF, we're in it for a short position too. Okay, I called it out here, USD short 0.9.4809. And as I've said earlier, all these trades, we're just taking them very carefully, not like we're going ham on them, just carefully tiptoeing, as we're not really going out because we don't actually see any clear trend happening in the market right now. You can see this thing is totally choppy, right? So we're in a short position. When we saw that this engulfing was not holding, this huge engulfing that happened here, it was not holding. So immediately we went below it on a retest to it. We were in for a short, and still we got taken out. You see that the market is not stable right now, no clear direction. So, but still our trailing stops took us out there. And I think I announced that in the signal channel too. Yeah, this trailing stop moved. Okay, this is when we moved the trailing stop down, but we're taking out today, earlier today. So that's it from our side. Nothing much happening, but still we are trying to pick out little opportunities in the market. And so far so good. That's what we could do for this week. So I'll hand over to Nabuna to let you know to answer that question that just came in before I started sharing my screen. So I'll stop sharing.
So yeah, as Victor said, yeah, there were some profitable trades because Victor is really amazing in picking up those, but the size wasn't that big, of course, because he's rational enough to know that this market is not trustworthy enough to enter too big, because you want to keep the big size for the big moves for the, because at certain situations in the market you can see clearly that the bulls are winning the debate. So the opinion is very bullish of the opinion, and prices reflect opinions. Prices are supposed, initially when humans created them, they were supposed to get us as close to reality as possible, because nobody knows what reality is, what the real price of everything, the real value of anything. So we need to get that bidding system where we all start sharing with each other. I'm going to give you this thing and you're going to pay me back with something else, and whatever the value that you're giving to this, that's what the market is supposed to find. But in reality, reality is basically opinions. I don't know. I remember George Orwell, 1984, like that part where he starts talking to Wilson about, I don't know, for those who read it, he starts talking about how reality is basically, we are creating reality. We have the media to push it and all that. And that opinion is basically reality. And market works the same way. So when we have an opinion about something, this thing is very valuable, it's going to go high for whatever reason, it's going to actually go high because the bulls are going to be much more numerous than the bears, and etc. if we have the other side. So prices just reflects opinions, and right now nobody's certain about anything. We're getting into very uncharted territory basically on all sides. A market that's supposed to crash in terms of deflationary forces that usually happen in those kind of situations. But we have also the Federal Reserve printing money to oblivion to keep those markets afloat. We have a very like bizarre situation where we can see that all forces are pushing USD to be high, to be stronger than the other fiat currencies. Basically, it's but at the same time we see the Federal Reserve weakening it through that. So it's going to be strong against the other currencies, but probably it's not going to be as strong against the other assets. And that's why thinking about getting exposure to stuff like Bitcoin or gold or silver would be a pretty good idea at these points. Historically, this is what we learned about situations like this, and how either government or central banks or just any entity that has enough power to manipulate price, but manipulate currency, when they do what they do, it creates those kind of situation where yeah, people need to be aware of them because it's dangerous. I bet Jojo whenever
we have a few questions here. There's one saying, I think there was a question earlier before I started sharing my screen, and there's another one here.
I'm gonna maybe reply to the other one. The first one that says like our amount of funds. Basically, we use between 10% to 20, 30, and it doesn't matter like 20% of like the the value of the fund, the real value of the fund. But this is not really what our focus would be in. Our focus would be, okay, we identified the trade, we identified what's our risk, what's the level where we would be out of the trade if it goes against us, and what's our target. And then we know how much we're ready to risk in that trade. So if we're ready to risk amount X, so we're gonna just calculate what's the size, what the size should be, so that if we exit the trade, this is the maximum we're gonna lose. So that would fluctuate, but as I said, like from all of it, it's gonna be between 10-30% of the value of the whole thing. Okay, we have some other question. How will this work with two exchanges, coin, Eureka, and IP? Mike, we're talking about exactly me. How will this work with two exchange? If you can elaborate on this, I didn't get it.
I think that person is trying to say, will IPS and ERK be on the same exchange or something? I think that's what, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah, if that's the case, yes, they're gonna both. They are listed in Eureka X, and yeah, we really like IPX. It's built on top of the Eureka blockchain, and we want it to be a success because we want to have successful projects on top of Eureka, and we really see that it's gonna be a success with the buyback and burn based on the ImpulseX project, which I see a huge potential for, and we're very happy as the development company after having a share in this. We're really going to be very happy with it succeeding, and we don't see any way otherwise. It's really well made. Mark is a brilliant guy, and he's creating this masterpiece, and we're just behind him. I did joke, I never dreamed that we would all go out and buy our own camera. Yeah.
All right. So we're taking questions. I don't see any more questions here. Let me try to check YouTube if we have any questions.
I mean, just going back to Mike's comment here. Yeah, I mean, George Orwell would probably be surprised. Like, yeah, it's a bit. It's a unique situation where we're going through right now. It's kind of we need a lot of. Okay. With that said, we're very positive for the future, and yes, there is a silver lining here. This pandemic really changed a lot in the economy, but it's gonna show things how, like, it's gonna show the reality of a lot of things. Of course, seeing that people in multiple countries are already getting the effect of this, and others are just very close to it. The economic effect is gonna be devastating, and it's really just difficult to watch. At the same time, it's making it difficult for those who invest in markets. It's very difficult to just know what might happen next. It's very foggy. It has never been foggy for the last year. Like even in the 28th recession, well, really things were pretty clear, much clearer than right now, because we didn't have the whole economic wheel stopping, taking a halt. And and as we go back to the economy, it's still not that that clear that things are going to go back nearly to what they were before. So. The effect is still to be seen, but it's already being there. We are in record numbers of unemployment, record numbers of bankruptcies, record numbers of all the bad things that we try to avoid all the time. So the transaction on Eureka are still going to be paid in just ERK, all the transactions, all the transactions. I mean, the transactions Eureka are paid on with the coin that you're buying or selling with, the base coin. So if you're buying BTC USDT, the transaction fees are going to be, I mean, yeah, the trading fee are going to be in that one. I don't really think I got your question, Mike, but thanks. If you can just.
So,
okay, so I touched on this earlier, but I'm gonna just explain it a little further. the model is like the biggest part of the net profits of Polaris Universe, from everything from the trading fund and all the businesses online and offline. Net profit after covering the running costs go to buyback and burn. 80% actually of that, 20% stays in the company to keep increasing and moving forward. 80% of that goes directly to buyback and burn. Right now, the businesses are not that profitable because of the basically economic recession, which has that very, very nasty domino effect that we're getting, just as everyone else probably is right now. And for the trading, as we showed earlier, like Victor showed the other markets, the traditional markets, I was showing the crypto market, which basically was always our biggest focus. And in both, we can see that things are very uncertain, and it's really not a good place where to start trades. One of the things that's very, very important are the fees, which the trading fees, which change a little bit that risk reward ratio. And so you're going to pay whenever you get in a trade, you're actually paying something in the first place. And then the range is too small. So basically to get back your fees and stuff like that, you need a certain move, and that move doesn't happen too much right now. And you're not gonna find two potentially winning 2 units for 1 unit, 3 units for 1 unit. You're barely going to find risk in 1 unit for 1 unit, which always not a good idea. And the probability of the trades is so close to 50-50 because we don't have, we have a very low volume, and we have two arguments that both are strong. I mean, I can, some of them, because of course, like we try to find those, we always try to get either bullish or bearish based on the evidence, based on the data. We just gather the data, put them through pass them through a theory, and then end up with conclusions. And the goal is to either be, okay, so this has a bullish bias for the next week, blah, 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 or something, or the opposite. And right now, you can do studies that would end up giving you a very good argument for the bullish side, and then just half hour later you start going through another route, and you're going to end up with the opposite conclusion. It's pretty complicated right now because, as I said, there are the economic forces that are supposed to push the price, the markets lower, the equity market, the stock market, the Bitcoin, and everything, including gold and silver. The deflationary cycle that would happen usually in a similar economic environment, while the Federal Reserve and central banks are pushing prices higher by bringing a lot of currency into circulation. So it's kind of like they're creating this possibility of jumping through the deflationary period and just get into the inflationary one directly. And of course, during inflation and during hyperinflation, the stock markets and Bitcoin and gold and all of these are going to skyrocket. So that's why we have both scenarios right now, and we need to see what the markets and the opinion of those in the market would decide. Right now, it's pretty, the debate is still between both. So yeah, for the buyback and burn, as soon as there are net profits, we're gonna get in big. It's gonna follow the net profit. For Eureka is a blockchain that's built for. I mean, we already have some tokens built on top of it. We have not too much, of course, right now, but we have some partnerships that we're working on, some businesses that have some ideas, some really, really bright ideas that they want to put in on the blockchain, because they need to be put on a blockchain, either Ethereum or Eureka or whatever. And we're because we're giving that support, and because we're going to be there as the main development company of on top of Eureka, and we're going to basically make it as easy as possible for them to go on top of Eureka. They are willing and they are very open to build their stuff on top of Eureka, and these kind of things are going to bring organic demand as well. We're trying to create this strong cryptocurrency that's going to be strong, and this currency, we're going to back it with 80% of our net profits. We're going to not buy it, and that's all. We're not going to be only buyer. We're going to buy it and then burn it, send it to a wallet. You can find it in eurekacoin.io. It's the burning wallet. You can see there how many coins are burned, and you would see that that number is going to keep increasing. And the idea is that, and we're going to do that until we get to 10 million in circulation, and also 10% of the transaction fees are being burned all the time. So you add this to a cryptocurrency that's working perfectly, that's actually getting adoption by the minute. We're working on it. We're working on increasing that adoption, and of course, just being a state-of-the-art blockchain itself, we're seeing a big future for it. It's just a matter of months. Patience would be very important here. I mean, we have either that, make things systematically and just do something systematic that's going to make everyone happy, or we can just do things randomly and just, I mean, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't really work. We need buy back and burn. I mean, we can do it right now, but it's going to be very random, and it's not going to be as good for the project as doing it systematically, because we're playing this for the long run. We want everyone in this ecosystem to be happy, and we need to have that foundation for it. And having this capitalistic company behind this, pushing its price up by um, decreasing basically its supply, buying it and decreasing it. I think this has a big potential, and if you guys hold on it for a while, you're going to be very happy. And hanging on the coattails of the other trader, and my profit are still around the same. I'm hanging off the coattails of other traders, and my profits are still around the same. Okay, so I don't know what you mean, but if you mean that your profits in the current period, in the last 2 months or something, are the same, I would say congratulations, but I would say you took a lot of risks, and we're not going to take that risk. I mean, there are multiple ways to do the same thing. Like trading is kind of like there are a zillion ways to do it. Many strategies, many different strategies. Our strategy happens to be very safe. If you're gonna take more risk, that's good. You might end up winning, but that's the thing. Like that's why we don't really give too much importance to like. Okay, I just bought yesterday, and I want, like, if somebody comes and tell me, oh, I bought something last month and now it's up 200% or something, I would first thing ask him about how he decided to get that trade, to take that trade, and what kind of risk management strategy he had. And if he didn't have any of those and he just got lucky, I would just point out to him that this was luck, and luck is not really sustainable in the long run. We're trying to have like systematic ways to make profits, not just have hits of luck. And especially me, I don't think I'm lucky. I've never been lucky at all. I don't really believe that I might have anything.
Nabil, and to come into that, like in the forex space, some, people don't know that my FX book, which are many forex companies,
Yeah.
can be manipulated. It can be manipulated. I can decide not to show you many things in there and just show you the risky trades. It will not show you the open trades, the loss. It will just be covered by my excess with just an arrangement between you and my FX. So many people are falling for that and actually sending their Bitcoins out and thinking, hopefully, dreaming. And it will be, let me just, I don't want to talk much about that. So time will tell.
But I mean, exactly. That's a good situation to share. Yeah, usually we respect all ways that traders use to make profit. There are many ways to make profits out of the market, but some of them are pretty risky to the point that they get irrational and they get like, okay, you might win in it because you might win in anything. Like, I don't know, I was just watching a little video the other day about, I don't know, some, I don't remember its name, some channel, YouTube channel that has a lot of followers, and he was playing a game where he basically give away money. I don't remember his name, and he puts he does games, and if you win, you get a certain amount of money, and he puts 9 cups, and he put one inside one of them, and he asked the other guy, and he shuffled them, of course, and then he asked the other guy, okay, choose. If you find it, you're gonna get 20K or something. And from one touch, he got it. So it was one on a 9 probability. Like the probability is very low. If you have this trade, for example, that's probability, it's gonna be successful on a 9 time. You wouldn't take it, but that guy took it, and he took it, and he won instantly. So high probability and low probability doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. So you might make money even by doing some stuff that are a bit irrational. But at the end, it's all about doing it systematically. You want to have your system, and you want to have your list of criteria that you're going to stick to. And yes, current market is basically too little volume to play. And the other thing is that too little volume means price can go anywhere. Even though the pattern is pretty good and there is a momentum, but there is a momentum with little money. So if the people who have more money decide or have the opinion that the price is going to go to the other side, they will win at the end. So having that little momentum with little volume, it doesn't really say too much compared to having a move backed by volume. At times it becomes extremely difficult for those who are against the move to push it on the other side. Okay, it's an AI bot that corresponds to format. That's really amazing, but yeah, really good. If I mean, as I said earlier, like 0.88%, that's really good. So yeah, so we're working on that bot in Impulse X. It's gonna be, I mean, not working, but I mean, it's gonna launch in the next weeks, and yeah, something like that. It has its instructions, and it's gonna follow them, and our expected profit is gonna be something around that. Bots are really amazing when you program right in the right way. You just need, of course, to put enough instructions, and that means a lot more work for the programmer, but at the end, it's gonna be worth it. So yeah, but yeah, I'm happy for you, Poddy. I'm not really against making profits. I've never been. I love making profits. It's just in our situation, it's a bit different. And at the same time, as I said, like discourage my, and yeah, you're right. Like bots are basically the ones that are like being very active right now. If you look at the chart, let me just, I don't know, find this one quickly. Share my screen. Remember which one was. Um, mhm. Mm. Hello, hello. Sorry, guys. Wait for you, right? Hello.
And I'm here. Sorry, I went up for a minute. I went. Sorry.
Yeah. But guys, let's see if you have some questions. Okay, so earlier I was just talking about this. Let me do it again. I just had some problems with. Alright, second. So basically just the bots. I was just going to check. Yeah, so the bot activities, you can see the blue one is the bots. This is in BitMEX, of course, but I mean, you can see that the bots are pretty active there. So for that person, Pauline, I think, who told us about that bot, well, bots works a bit different, and that's why we're very excited about this bot that we're gonna have in ImpulseX. I think it's gonna be one of the most profitable bots out there, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. Let's see if we have some other questions. And Victor, if you have
I can't see any more questions.
Yeah. So, yeah. Generally, what do you think about gold, silver right now? Where do you think they're going to be heading in terms of targets?
Right now, I'm looking at being bullish on gold with what happened on Thursday. Looking at the news, immediately the news happened. You can see the news was even positive with the dollar, but it was still weak. Gold immediately started going up, and currently I'm waiting for it to just beat some levels. Then I'll start picking my entries gradually, like normal. But for now, I'm still watching it. It needs to beat some certain levels. I can see if I can share my.
We're not really that far from the all-time highs, and we know when you have
No. Yeah, it's not there yet.
Yeah, but we're not really that far. 19, 20, something like that. Still $100 away. It's really possible to do that in the next few weeks. Very.
Yeah, with the way it's looking, it's possible for us to hit the all-time highs very soon. But yeah. I'll keep an eye on that. Let's see what will happen next week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I see in terms of prices of physical gold, there is like a big premium. People are really paying more. Most of the places, there are some good brokers, but most of the time it's really hard to get your hands on physical gold. And you see that in gold, we have always this problem between physical. I mean, you can have this discrepancy between the physical gold and the real gold and the gold on the spot market. While in Bitcoin, you never have this situation because the physical Bitcoin is actually the
I would still prefer Bitcoin, and simply because the total value, as in the total number, is being known 21 million, but gold we don't actually know how many gold is there, right? We don't actually know that.
Some Russian somewhere probably has half of the circulation just in his basement. So it's not the same. It's not, you can't really know how much really in circulation, but it's still seen mostly as rare because we know how much work is put behind this, and that's close to how mining is taken as well. Like in our case, if you want to stake, you're gonna need to put something in on the table, put a capital, and keep it there to basically create, I mean, be there and receive those more coins. I mean, we don't have really more coins. We have just, we have a fixed supply. We just have the transaction fees. Yeah, it's a bit different in our side. We have, it's kind of like having something that the supply is already known from day one, so it's never gonna go in. It's never gonna increase. That's creating a lot more scarcity. With that said, maybe we give it a little more minutes, see if we have some other messages.
Yeah, so that will give a closing remark. I think we hit our time already.
So we're gonna be with you guys next week as well. Keep following what's the development, what's happening in the ImpulseX site. It's really, we're really happy with it, endorsing it. We love it. We're a partner. We want Mark to just keep crashing his numbers there. We see that like there is kind of a lot of excitement about it, which is really amazing to see. Of course, there are many reasons for that excitement. This product and the affiliate program really making it well. I'll give it to it.
And I think this is the most transparent thing you can see on the internet today, because your funds are actually going to be on the exchange. You're not sending it out there, and actually you be in charge of it, 100% in charge of your funds, yeah. And I think that's the safest way to go right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's see if we have questions here. So yeah, Victor showed some trades in the forex signal. I also had a trade. We didn't have too many, but we had a Bitcoin short around 200. That's probably the best way to play it so far, because above 9,300, we might start thinking again about bullish. And it seems like the lack of volume and the lack of excitement that's happening right now in the crypto space will probably cause a leg down, final leg down before push higher. Back to the bot, I'm gonna just say some little notes about the bot. So the bot is given those characteristics, those list of criteria to enter and exit trades, but they're also taking into consideration the market phase. So we identify phases, probably like 6 or 7 separate types of phases, and of course we are there behind it. We would tweak it and then maybe change the parameters a bit, because for example, playing oversold bounces in on the way down is totally different from playing oversold bounces on the way up, and it's totally different from playing oversold bounces in a ranging market, in a choppy market, in a long-term flag, because at the end, um, like the same kind of trade would be totally different. The breakouts as well, they're totally different. The momentum trades are of course totally different. If we have momentum to either side, is totally different compared to having a macro ranging trend. But yeah, that's what this bot is supposed to do. It's gonna follow certain strategies based on certain market environments. It's gonna just keep doing the same thing, and based on the backtesting, based on the performance of these strategies for over the last 4 to 5 years, we can expect probably between 100% to 180% or 200% yearly. So an average of that would be 150%. So this is what we would expect from that bot, and we're really excited to see it in action. Like just having the idea of having the bot running here and having that positive effect across a lot of accounts would be really amazing. The risk is very minimal. I mean, you can see, I mean, we're not, I wouldn't say me and Victor are conservative traders. We take risk when we need to and all that, but we are safe traders. We think about safety a lot, and maybe the fact that we've been around these markets for a lot of time, you start,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
losing. I mean, I'm not gonna trust luck or any of that. I'm just gonna have things systematically, because that's how you would survive. I mean, market is kind of like a beast that's trying to throw you away all the time, trying to beat you. But if you're smart enough, basically, and if you're systematic enough, disciplined enough, you would end up winning it. You would end up winning that
And
fight.
many times the best trade is no trade.
It's on your hands. It's really difficult. Like it's really difficult to do. It
The
seems,
most difficult thing to do
yeah,
as a trader, yeah.
because your mind is sometimes telling you, okay, these have enough requirements, and you need to pull the trigger anyway. Because as trader, I mean, the whole idea is making those right decisions and pulling the trigger. But there is a big difference between pulling the trigger here and pulling the, it's basically the same thing. You're just clicking a button, but it can have like the difference between day and night. So you want to be safe, and this is what we're doing.
And the truth is this, yeah. When you consider the risks first, you'll be very patient with the setups. You'll be very
Yeah,
patient, yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I'll just check if we have
I
some
think
listening YouTube, and maybe
we don't have any more questions here, and
yeah, I can't see either
we're
here.
wrapping it up already.
So guys, everyone who have been with us tonight, thank you so much for watching us. We're here, we're around. You can get hold of us here in Telegram, and Facebook, and Messenger. We're around. We are working 24/7 on the background, just to make all our visions or our goals to happen in reality. Sometimes the time windows are different. Some environments are different than the others, but patience and staying consistent, staying disciplined would take us to the other side. And I'm pretty sure all those who are involved with Eureka coin are going to be very, very, very satisfied throughout the next months. We're creating a beast behind it. 80% of those net profits are going to be just coming in and buying and burning that coin. And the coin is a state of the art blockchain. By the way, if
Yeah.
any of you guys, some beautiful minds out there who have some nice ideas that would solve problems that are caused by centralized systems that already exist. A lot of systems, like all kind of industries, can be revolutionized with blockchain. If you guys have some just interesting ideas, you can actually pitch them and work with our programmers. We have our development team there dedicated for blockchain. I mean, a lot of things can be done on top of Eureka. And we're very excited for the future. We're just in the first decade of this amazing technology that's changing the world, and we're getting placed there. And all of you guys who hold Eureka are going to see that effect, the effect of the both the buyback and burn and the effect of having this blockchain that's going to get adoption as we go through and as the partnerships we're creating and building gets into reality. Anything you want to add, Victor, before we wrap this up?
Uh, are you there, boss? Okay.
Yeah. Like if you have something to add, and then
All
you
right.
can goodbye.
Yeah, just to add a bit, like technically the risk of for holding right now, ERK, the risk of holding is very small, very tiny compared to the reward ahead. So if you can, if holders like personally, I'm actually buying. I even bought more tonight. Like holding the risk of holding now is very tiny compared to
Yeah,
the
because like
potential ahead. Looking ahead.
with these prices, like if we do the buyback and burn using one good month based on the expected net profit that all this can create, and of course just from the trading alone, without talking about the other thing, if we use 80% of that, I mean, with the current prices, we can buy probably half of the circulation or something. So the idea is that as it goes lower, as it's going to be much more bought, much more burned, a lot of more coins that are going to be burned, and the effect is going to be much bigger, and the price is going to jump up because as soon as we do that, I mean, of course, people will prefer to sell at higher prices. But this is what I think what's making this issue. Like when we talked about the buyback and burn, there were maybe some misconceptions about just doing it randomly. We're not doing it randomly. We're doing it based on the net profits of the company. And as any company, some months are just not that profitable, but the other months recover and create a lot more than what we expect. And we want to be patient with that, especially with trading and all that. You don't want to risk the capital that actually you can use later. I mean, as the popular saying goes, the market can stay irrational a lot more than you stay solvent. So you don't want to take those risks because at the end, I mean, it's really difficult to do that, as we talked earlier. But I mean, we need to do that, and we need to be patient and wait for those trades. And if that means we're not doing buyback and burn in the short term, um, the end, take it for all of you who are doing Bitcoin. Take the perspective of months, of course, because this is an investment that's worth waiting for, and our net profit are going to just be going there automatically, and the effect is going to be seen easily on the charts, believe me. So yeah, other than that, I think we're gonna say good night for now. Thanks guys for watching. See you next week.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you next week.